Mr. Joel right now. I'm gonna ask him some questions about human trafficking. So, Mr. Joel, what do you know about human trafficking?
Human trafficking, to me, is the movement of people, often illegally, between borders. Usually would be for a purpose of getting them to do a service or work in manufacturing or something like that. So for example, I know Thailand struggles with humans being trafficked in to work in the sex industry. So they're brought in illegally and they're almost forced to work in an industry either at their will or against their will. I guess slavery, human trafficking is like a more modern version of slavery, where slavery would be pulling people up from a place and almost jailing them to take them to work in a specific industry. I think human trafficking to me is a little more open. People may be brought in illegally either for, it could be for residency in a country. So for example, the Syria crisis, human traffickers would work to get people from Syria into Greece. That's only for their residency, for their well-being. Where some would be more of the slavery mentality where they'd be working and they'd be brought into a country to work in a factory or to raise money for a scam on the streets.
So, what are the steps you think that the government should take to stop further human trafficking?
Okay. Governments in general, I think, by especially making their borders and their shipping laws very tight, so you'd have to have that first check, that gets people, or it scans all ships, all transportation in and out of the country. Making the penalties harsh for the criminals. So I know right now, Syria, it's very hard to control because the government is at war, so
Yep.
it's very difficult to stop human traffickers within Syria. I know the EU has very strict laws on stopping human trafficking, and the traffickers are actually scared to go into European waters. So having those strict laws in place with severe penalties like jail time or fines would help to stop human trafficking.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joel, for your valuable time.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Loria. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm gonna ask you some questions regarding human trafficking. So, how are women trafficked? What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's a number of ways that females are taken. I think one of the more, there's multiple ways, but I think that some of the more common ways is just forcibly taken, kidnapped, and then sold into some form of slavery. There's also a large element of trickery that goes on. Individuals who are promised other jobs, better lives, etc., and then as soon as they submit their passports and they're taken, they end up in these brothels or other places like that, and that happens quite a bit. So forcibly taken or tricked, both ways are awful, but those I think are the most common ways of actually getting a female to the place that they're in a position of being human trafficked.
So, how do you think these can be controlled?
Well, I think a lot of the root causes of a lot of human trafficking, obviously, from the perspective of the trafficker, there's a lot of money in this. There's a lot of the opportunities to actually gain financial remuneration and things like that is very, very high. And I think a big problem though comes down to female empowerment, and there's large parts of the world that women are undervalued, they are undereducated, and still in the firm vice-like grip of a patriarchal society. And I think that that's a real big problem when the attitudes of a society are basically saying that women are less less valuable, less important, or whatever, which is an absurd claim. So I think that things that need to be done, besides, of course, harsh punishments and things like that, which there are to a certain extent, they're not harsh enough. But there needs to be a concerted global effort at the grassroots to educate people, right? To educate women, to educate men, and really, inform them about, the problems of society, and that when you start to see an educated female population, generally things get better. So I think that's definitely a way that governments can get involved, and really sort of crack down, because it is a thing that's happening more and more, and that's what they need to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Loria.
You're welcome.
People would be brought in these camps, they'd be handed a telephone, and they'd be told, you need to raise $2,000 for your freedom, or we will either kill you or you will die here.
Some of the human traffickers, those who are the big investors, they also have link with some government officers. So these government officers, they protect their business.
How high up do you think the corruption goes?
ทุกอย่างผิดกฎหมายขึ้นมาคุมไม่ได้
In the spring of 2015, the world was stunned when hundreds of Rohingya refugees and some Bangladeshi migrants were stranded at sea in horrific conditions on overpacked boats. Abandoned by human traffickers after a partial crackdown by the Thai government, the boats were at first denied entry by all countries in which they sought refuge. It was a small glimpse at the plight of what the United Nations has called one of the most persecuted minorities in the world, and a glaring reminder of just how unwanted the Rohingya are. Today, the flow of Rohingya trying to escape Myanmar by sea has slowed in the wake of the crackdown. Very little, however, is being done to get at what's causing the Rohingya to leave in the first place. This is Mahmoud. He's 17 years old and was rescued from a trafficker after spending 12 days on a boat last summer. His parents paid the equivalent of $413 after they were promised he'd be taken to a job in Malaysia. Walk us through the process of when you decide to go, how it works, and how you end up on the big boat. What were the conditions like on the boat? When you were on the big boat, did you think at one point that you were going to die? Mahmoud is just one of the tens of thousands of Rohingya who have been smuggled or trafficked since 2012. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees puts the number as high as 160,000. We're here at the western edge of the camps, facing the Bay of Bengal. And these three ships right here, these are used by traffickers. It's the first step in the trafficking process. People are loaded into these boats before they're taken about 20 miles to the sea, where there are giant boats waiting. Those boats are loaded extremely full, and then they make the journey to Malaysia or Thailand. The trafficking operations are actually quite complex. Wealthy investors, many of them in Bangkok, Bangladesh, or Kuala Lumpur, will purchase a large boat. These boats are sent to the western coast of Rakhine State, where they anchor offshore in international waters, close to Sittwe or further north in Mongdao. The ship captain or other operatives within the syndicates contact local brokers in Rohingya communities, who round up and recruit people to fill the boat. They're paid by commission, and they tell desperate Rohingya that they'll travel safely to Malaysia, where they'll have a job waiting. The Rohingya are put on small boats. Payments are made to local authorities so they can get through. The small boats keep coming until the big boat is dangerously overpacked. If you're the first group to board, You could be stuck in horrific conditions until the ship fills up, which can take weeks. Once the Rohingya get on, everything is taken from them. Sometimes, they're given different colored bracelets when they get on a ship. Each color represents a different trafficker. So if a Rohingya is wearing a green bracelet, they are now owned by the trafficker who was assigned the color green. The syndicates may share the boats, but the human cargo belong to different traffickers. Once the large boats are full, they make their way to Thai waters and dock throughout southern provinces, near the Malaysian border, to unload their property. In some cases, vehicles operated by Thai officials are alleged to have escorted them. In others, Thai immigration authorities are alleged to have taken Rohingya into custody and then sold them to traffickers.